Welcome to Forward with NACCE, Inspiring Entrepreneurial Action, a podcast that shares the stories of everyday entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial leaders, and the communities that support us. We hope that this diverse collection of stories brings you inspiration, inspires you to take action, and ignites entrepreneurship in your community as we make our way forward together.
Welcome to Forward with NACCE. This episode is a replay of an inspiring discussion held during the 2021 Future Building Summit in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was sponsored by the Kauffman Foundation and included inspiring thinkers and leaders from all sectors: government, business, policy, and philanthropy. We talk about charting a new course and rebuilding in 2022. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy.
I'm John Rainoni. I'm president of Dabney Lancaster Community College in Southwest Virginia. I'm really proud to be here. So the next chapter, or the topic, is really on purpose. What really struck me was the second part of that title, is partnership to progress. As president of a small rural college for 8.5 years, partnerships have been so critical because we cannot do everything. And the partnerships that we brought together really allowed us 6 years ago to get into the entrepreneurial space. And what we'll do is we'll talk about that. I'm really proud to be on this panel. What we're going to do is really look at the ecosystem, the life cycle from K through 12 through higher education. And we're going to first start with Dr. Gene Colson.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the executive director of EntreEd. We are about a 41-year-old organization now, always dedicated to entrepreneurship education, and more recently, entrepreneurship education in the K-12 realm. And the section of the book that Becky has asked us to take a look at, when I had read the book, but I went back and checked the chapter, and there's a quote, just a short one, that I want to read that kind of tells our story. And that is, history teaches us that we must look for opportunity, pivot when needed, and be patient enough to find the right partners that share our purpose. The story I want to tell you about finding partners is the partnership between EntreEd and NACCE. When Dr. Corbin was first hired, I called her on like her second day of work and said, you know, I'm in K-12 entrepreneurship education. You all are dealing with community college. There's got to be some connection somewhere there. And she agreed, and we became friends, and we stayed in touch, even though there was no project on the table. We were just looking for that opportunity to work together. Well, fast forward a couple of years, and we had a chance with the Appalachian Regional Commission to apply for a power grant, and EntreEd needed partners in rural communities in several different states. And it made sense to me that there are community colleges in each of those communities. And so NACCE and EntreEd and a couple of others partnered on a sizable grant, and we became good friends with lots of folks in community colleges around Appalachia. Remember, the first contact happened at least 2 years before that project came along. And I think if you identify potential partners and you become friends and you develop the trust that you need, then when that project comes along, it's a no-brainer, and it's a good thing for me, it was a no-brainer. It's kind of interesting that all of a sudden the project can come together very quickly and very smoothly because there's that trust factor with those people that you've known for a while. I told someone this morning that the term Rolodex is an old term that nobody uses anymore, But if you've got a nice Rolodex of people you know that share your purpose and have different sorts of resources, then when those projects come along, those opportunities come along, you can go through your Rolodex and say, here's the one and here's the one we need to make this work. And so I think in our case, we have a program called America's Entrepreneurial Schools, which is entrepreneurship for every student in a school building. And we have them now across Appalachia because ARC gave us the funding and our NACCE partners helped us implement. And it not only was it great for those 3 years, but the ARC is now funding us for another couple of years. And we couldn't have done it without Becky and without NACCE and without our community partners throughout the area. So I guess my point to all of this is gather those potential partners just because they're good friends, just because they're people you respect and trust. And one day a project will come along where you can work together. But if you don't, you still got some good friends.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great point. Just our personal relationship, say over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been trying to find a project to bring to our local communities. Okay, unfortunately, the Appalachian Regional Commission grant doesn't support our region in Virginia, but Gene and I are pretty ambitious and trying to figure out how we can bring his programs to our schools. So we've gone from K through 12. Now I'm going to share our story as a small rural college, and then we will go to Beth on a much larger institution. I've been at the college for 8.5 years, as I said. I consider myself a convener. My role is to bring people together. I had the pleasure of working for 7 years with Dr. Angeline Godwin, who just retired from Patrick Henry Community College. She used to talk about the bird in hand, and she talked about the crazy quilt. Well, if you know Angeline and you know me, crazy is pretty accurate, okay? Because we really like to capture the strengths and diversity of others to really accelerate this change. We are proud to be an EEVF Phase 2 school, and the only reason why we were able to even consider that is because of our crazy quilt that we have put together in a small rural area. I have 1,800 square miles and only 70,000 people, and we have only 1,900 students a year. I know Beth and Andy have that for their department, but that's okay. But really collaboration, and you know, I said this on the day of my interview at the college, and it's sort of become sort of a tongue-in-cheek, and I've stole it from 75 other people, but our middle name is community, okay? And I truly believe that. We cannot do everything individually, especially in a small, we don't have the resources. I've described it that we don't have a bench. I have one person in my human resources office, okay? She is anywhere from the clerk all the way up to the counselor, all the way up to the diversity officer, so and so forth and so on, okay? So how can we solve problems? I had the fortunate of helping starting a brand new community college in my previous year, in my previous role. I worked there 18 years. I was the 9th person hired and the 2nd longest person to actually work there. You know, when you start a brand new business, obviously, you start a brand new community college where the governor said you can go build your college, but we have no money, okay? They gave us $1.8 million to operate our college at that time. No building and so forth. The mantra was find a way or make one. And that was so critical. And that has been the best experience for me to come into this president's role. And really, that's some of the things. I can tell you that our partnership through EEVF, our partnership through NACCE, our partnership with our entrepreneurial program has started businesses in our community that would have never even thought about. They had no place to go. Okay, they had no place to go. And we've started, we have two primary main streets in a portion of our service area. Empty buildings. I'm sure none of you have empty buildings in your communities, but we had empty buildings. Started a flower shop, very thriving flower shop. The best one, and I was sharing it with Gene this morning and showed him a picture, was the cinnamon roll business. These cinnamon rolls, yes, are as big as your head, okay? And they sell out every single day, okay? And we were able to help them through EVF and other types of things to really make this a reality, this business a reality. We played very, very small part, but this partnership with this nonprofit that we deliver our entrepreneurial program, what we call as the Gauntlet, would have never happened in our two of our communities if it wasn't sort of for the willingness to look at this crazy quilt and not think, because I didn't have the expertise on campus to do that. So being able to say, yes, have the program on our campus, okay, we are now a partner. And you talk about a crazy person, but the person who runs the nonprofit that we actually do our entrepreneurial, she's crazier than me. Crazy in a good way. She's got a larger crazy quilt, okay? But really, I don't care what size of institution, you know, the can't do attitude is really, you know, give me 10 people that have the belief that something can happen, even if it sounds pretty difficult to do, okay? And we'll figure out a way. We'll find a way or make one.
So I was thinking about listening to John and Jean, and pretty much everything that has occurred in the, 7-year tenure I've had now in my role has occurred as a result of partnerships. The position I hold now at the college was through a partnership when I was with the Governor's Office of Economic Development and contracted with them. One of my partners tapped me and said, I think you need to be my replacement and you need to come and run the entrepreneurship programs at Salt Lake Community College. And so that kind of began my journey and understanding of partnerships. But it also introduced me to so many people in our community, including our veteran military affairs, Colonel Gary Harder, who tapped me a few years ago and said, how about if you start a veteran business resource center and we'll partner with you and we will see what happens when you start training and educating veterans in how to start small businesses. And that's led to an amazing run. Dr. Richard Brown, who's here with me, runs my Veteran Business Resource Center and has trained dozens and dozens of veterans to start small businesses. I don't know if we have my slides, but I wanted to take you through what some of the partnerships have meant. Do we have my slides? I don't know if we do. Because I wanted to introduce you to what partnership and purpose has really done for us. I'm going to tell you about 3 stories with the recipients of our Everyday Venture Fund. We gave 3 grants this year, and each one of them has a really remarkable story. The first one is a young man who is a DACA student at Salt Lake Community College. He just graduated with his associate's degree, never, ever, ever thought that he would be college bound material, let alone a small business owner. His name is Humberto Corneo Sanchez. He goes by Beto. Fast forward Beto's life, getting him off the streets and out of gangs and out of the drug business, and getting him into what he is passionate about and amazing at is street graffiti art, and he is an amazing muralist. He has found our Everyday Entrepreneur program. He attached himself at the hip with John, who you heard the other day give our pitch, and sucked every ounce of information he could. He incubates with us in our co-working space, and he has started West Tempo Media, and his goal really is, I want to learn more about business so that I can go ask more money for the commissions and the murals that he's drawing. And so he has now gotten commissions all over the state of Utah. He just was awarded, and I don't know what happened to my slides, but he was awarded a huge commission in Salt Lake downtown, and he'll be creating a giant mural, and there's a picture of me and him standing in front of this empty wall that is now being transformed and will be part of the fabric of Salt Lake. The next gentleman, Kevin Clark, VitaCast, he was a veteran. Rick worked with him day and night to get his VitaCast audio theater business up and running. Very successful. The third one is Travis Stevens, and Travis started a company called Wise Mind Online Therapy. Travis was a suicide survivor. He attempted to take his own life, and he also lost his 13-year-old son to suicide. He transformed himself. He was a therapist. This is a video that he did for his pitch in the competition, but I don't think we have time for that, so you can skip the video. That's him getting ready to paint. And then the next slide is, these are our three recipients, Kevin, Beto, and Travis. Anyway, Travis has now left. He was working in a practice of therapy, but now he's gone on to start his own online therapy, where he wants to recruit therapists from all over the country to do online triage for trauma, PTSD, veterans who are at risk of taking their own lives, and has just done a remarkable transformation of seeing himself now as a business owner. And again, Rick worked very, very closely with him. So when you talk about purpose and partnership, I mean, this is why we do what we do, and it's really the stories and the people who are transforming their lives and you know, making a go of it, getting off the streets, getting off of drugs, not feeling suicidal. It's really powerful.
So we have a couple more minutes. Jean, do you have any maybe follow-up or anything? And another great quote. I actually have a quote to end this from the book, but that was really important. But
well, you know, when you read a book and you're going to present on the book, you do all the highlighting and marking and all of that stuff. But I like where it says potential collaborators voluntarily choose to partner with one another. It's part of the Crazy Quilt section. And I've found that the partners that I have found that have worked best, again, were people that over time I had worked with. I knew John and I have been talking to each other about working together for a number of years, and we're going to make it happen sometime before long. But we voluntarily chose to try to work together and try to work and take my programs to his community. And I think that voluntary piece is important. I don't think it's a good idea that if you're filing for a grant or something, to go to somebody and say, I've got money, join us. There's got to be more there in the purpose. So that's the rest of my story.
Beth, any last comments with our less than 1 minute?
Yeah, I would just say that you never know who is going to be your partner. You never know who you're going to run into along your journey. Sometimes they may be strange bedfellows, but just meeting Colonel Harder 10 years ago and having him call me out of the blue one day and say, what do you think about starting a Veteran Business Resource Center? And the impact that that's had on our college and our community, the creativity that it's brought, that's what I love about partnerships, is just being open to that abundance mentality of who else could I partner with that I didn't really think of, but might have a really interesting and compelling trajectory to the work that we're doing.
Great. And the quote I just want to end on, which I found was important, was form partnerships with people and organizations willing to make real commitment to create the future. And it's that real commitment that I think is really important. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you will continue to explore the many ways to define entrepreneurship with NACCE as we celebrate opportunity, failing forward, and success, learning from one another along the way. Subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform and follow at NACCE on social media and learn more about us at nacce.com/podcast. Stay tuned for a new episode each week. We look forward to making our way forward together with you. Have you heard about our latest book, Impact Ed: How Community College Entrepreneurship Creates Equity and Prosperity? This is our roadmap for building back better in 50 states and globally. In each chapter, we share the inspiring stories of everyday entrepreneurs and explain how community colleges play a crucial role in their success. Visit us at nacce.com/impacted to order your copy now and join us in this work.
Are you curious about what's coming up next in the NACCE community? Join us on the second Wednesday of every month at 12 p.m. Eastern to set yourself up to be productive and impactful with NACCE by your side. We'll share about events, ways to get involved, and we'll have an open conversation featuring questions you're asking or problems you're facing. So join us on the second Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Up Next with NACCE. More information at nacce.com/upnext.